Right, in this video, I'm going to go over the average rate of change of a function. Now, before I start finding the average rate of change over these two functions, first of all, we need specific points. Why? Because the average rate of change is equal to the change in input. No, that's wrong. Make sure I remember what I'm talking about. Change in output over change. Can't spell change today. I don't know what it is. Change in input. Or another way to put it, delta y over delta x. Because y is our output, right? And x is our input usually. And yes, we use the symbol delta to represent change. And it's just a little triangle. And some teachers, when they write delta, they might say change in y, or over change in x as they write it, instead of saying delta as they write it. Either way, it means the same thing. Or another way to write that, if you remember your function notation, f of x2, x sub 2, minus f of x sub 1, the little sub is important, over x sub 2 minus x sub 1. Now, what does the little sub 2 mean? It means that we have two different inputs, right? I mean, they're still in the domain of our function, but they're different numbers, and we're going to have different outputs for those numbers, right? And you usually have different outputs. Maybe they're the same, but it's going to be the output based on the input x sub 2. Now, if you don't know what I just said, maybe it'll become more clear to you when I actually do a couple examples. Just leave that little red mark there. All right. First of all, let's look at this one. Let's say, we wanted the average rate of change from -5 to 10. All right. These would be the inputs. -5 would be your x1, right? And 10 would be your x2, right? So what is f of x1? It's f of -5, which is -5 squared minus 1. -5 squared is 25, right? Minus 1 is 24. So our first point would be -5, 24. And our second point is f of 10, which is 10 squared is 100 minus 1 is 99. Okay. So that would be 10, 99. Doesn't matter how big the numbers are, we're not going to graph it, thankfully. But we do f of x2 minus f of x1 over x2 minus x1. Got to remember, just memorize that. So what is x2? This would be our 2, and this would be our 1, right? Because this was x1 and this is x2. So this would be f of x2. So that would be 99. And this is f of x1 would be 24. Those are outputs, right? And then inputs underneath it. The second one first, 10 minus -5. So weird way to write a 5. There we go. Now as a double negative becomes positive, right? Or the doof rule, as some of you might know. That's the way I learned it. Becomes positive. So what's 99 minus 24? Let's do a little math over to the side here. 75. 10 plus 5 is 15. 75 divided by 15, I think that divides out evenly. But I do know that we can divide this by 5, right? We got 3. 75 divided by 5 is 15. 15 divided by 3 is 5. So our average rate of change is 5, from -5 to 10. It's not so bad, right? All right, now, you got to keep in mind the domain of this one, right? Because what's underneath this square root cannot be a negative. So x plus 2 must be greater than 0, right? So x must be greater than -2. So what if we want to know the average rate of change from -1 to, I don't know, 23? There'll be a reason I chose that number. All right, let's see. So this is our x1, right? This is our x2. So we already have the bottom part, 23 minus -1, right? We just need our change in output on the top. So when we put in -1, what do we get? -1 plus 2 is +1. Square root of 1 is 1, right? And then there's a negative out front of it, so we get a -1 out. So -1 in, -1 out. That was easy. 23. All right, 23 plus 2 is 25. Square root of 25 is 5, right? So we get a -5 because we have the negative out front. So input is 23, output is -5. So this would be our second point. This is our first point, right? Second point minus first point. Second output minus first output, which is -1. All right, what does that come out to? -5 plus 1 is -4 over 23 plus 1 is 24. Simplify that. Divided by 4 is 1. Divided by 4 is 6, right? Yeah. So -1/6 is our average rate of change. It means it goes down 1/6 every time we go over 1 in this domain, right? We go from -1 to 0. The average would be going down 1/6. So we're not going down very fast, are we? Right? Because we went from -1 just to -5 over 24 spots, 25 really. All right, that's average rate of change. Thank you for watching.